What's it actually mean, viewers, to be narcissized? To me, from my experience, it's trying to have a relationship, a good, solid, give, take care and share relationship with somebody that is unable to do that. Now, they'll feign doing that at the start when they're in the love bomb stage and they want to parasitically enter into that space in your mind and heart that is reserved for somebody that's going to invest intimately into your life, and they'll do that. They'll be intimate and perform well and share well and do all the other attributes, but then, like parasites do, they begin to go into a demise. They seem to poison themselves. That's the problem. While they're maiming you, they're poisoning themselves. You see a part of their character that is just not adding up. There's just something in your mind that's starting to swim and get foggy, because nothing seems to be getting resolved the way that it should, only bits and pieces. There seems to be this underlying sabotage eating away at any confidence and vision in the relationship. There's always this element of doubt. Doubt based on micro-incremental unresolved issues, reoccurring problems, things that aren't being fixed, that are eating away at your conscience. Your conscience is saying to you something. There is just something wrong here that's not adding up, that's not going to equal anything productive in the long run. And essentially, you're ignoring that by way of your commitment, devotion, loyalty, and other positive attributes that are trying to cover up for this person's message that they're trying to send, which is, get rid of me. The narcissist loves, the sinner loves to think that they have the person fooled by their own faithfulness, loyalty, devotion, commitment, love, fooled in a way in which they ignore the omissions and commissions of sin in which they're portraying and playing out in the relationship, because they rely on your ignorance in facing these things, your unwillingness to let these things go for supply. That's how they get their narcissistic supplies. Narcissistic supplies based on deception in the covert sense, based on a delusion, making you believe things that aren't real. For instance, if somebody's coming home late and you ask them not to do that and they continue to do that, and you're making excuses for that, you're being abused. You're micro-incrementally being abused. I had a partner and I said, please, if you can help it, which I knew she couldn't, try not to visit stoned. Try not to visit drugged. But that was an impossibility, and of course in the long run she was never going to make it. People who sin, people who narcissize the world in which they live, rely on the weaknesses of those in which they engage, in which they're able to penetrate, because they will give you a warning. They will say, look, I'm this or I'm that, I've been told I'm this and I've been told I'm that. But when you think about it, in the love bomb stage, it's not really fair to innuendo yourself. The narcissist will say things to you to warn you, but they're only feeling you out. If you don't disappear, then you've given the parasite opening to penetrate into your loyalty, commitment, and devotional faculties. And they'll take advantage of them and slowly erode and eat away at your values. That's what narcissists do. They condition you to accept standards and treatment that ordinarily you would not accept or take. You would walk away from. And the narcissist does this over a period of time, micro-incrementally, bit by bit, conditioning you to believe them over what your conscience is saying. And so how do you get out of it? One of the big things that helped me after being involved with a few covert female narcissists that were just using me for supply while I was trying to build a relationship, and it was never going to happen, was to detach. Psychologically and emotionally and devotionally and commitment and all the rest of it, detach from that person in accordance with the relationship destructive behavior that they're demonstrating. So but by the time they've completely ruined the relationship, if you parallel with their behavior, you're almost completely detached. See, instead of pushing in and trying harder to try and change that person's behavior to be more favorable towards you or the relationship, you detach. Negative behavior requires detachment. I remember I've had a few terrible instances with covert emotional incest in the life of the person that I've been with. And there was some grandiose delusions coming out of some of these children that were trying to sabotage me. And so I decided the best thing for me to do is just detach, stay away from that person. There's going to be no resolve, because I tried to resolve something with them, and they went into they narcissized the situation and made up a delusion of which I was never going to accept. But because the woman I was with was in covert emotional incest, then there was never going to be a resolve, because she didn't have the mental fortitude or discernment to be able to confront the issue in a way in which there would be any order or resolve demonstrated or come into effect. So to cut a long story short, it was actually that underlying problem. And the narcissist, the sinner, will use these problems as a way of creating what's known as a reverse discard. And I'm sure many of you have heard of that before, reverse discard. They'll use these unresolved issues to build a platform for them to leave the relationship, usually in a way in which they look the victim and you're the villain, as it were. They'll villainize you. There'll be a smear campaign when they're gone. You don't worry about that. The only people who are taking notice of it are the people that know the person is troubled. And as they create this reverse discard situation, which is a way in which you're driven to the point where you say, look, I'm not doing this anymore. You're not what I need in my life. You're more trouble than you're worth. That's their way of being able to leave the relationship in what seems to be a semi-justified sense, because you've asked them to go. There could have been possibilities of fixing the problem. That hasn't happened. Therefore, to some degree or element, they are the victim and you're the problem. It's called a reverse discount. So the narcissist knows how to set up platforms for them to navigate their way, one platform to the next. And of course, knowing that narcissism works on love bomb, devalue, discard, and hoover. I don't talk about hoover much because hoover does work. Maybe I'll do one on hoover, but the hoover, there's a whole thing on hoovering which we won't start here. But once they've gone into the discard stage with me, they know very well they ain't coming back, whether it's their decision or not. You won't be coming back. I make that very clear. I won't be back. You won't be back. It's done. Then once you've come to that point where you've had enough, you've resolved within yourself that this person is never going to change, they're never going to get better, they're going to wing this as long as they can, because that's all they're doing. They're winging it. When you've arrived at that point in your heart and mind, you tell that person that you just don't want to do this anymore, that you need to separate as peacefully as possible. And how you go about this, I would get advice from somebody you know and trust, but this is what I do, so you can take it or leave it. I don't want to do this anymore. There is no future in this, in the way I would perceive a good give, take, care and share relationship to work out. And you walk away and you don't go back. You leave that person alone. Let them get on with their life and you get on with yours. And never, ever, ever, ever go back again.